My next guest is a science writer who has worked in the Pacific Northwest forest for the last 50 years, first as a salmon biologist and later as a professor at Oregon State University. Her new book, Born of Fire and Rain, takes us deep into the heart of the Pacific temperate rainforest, which runs through Western Washington. Welcome to New Day, Margaret Herring.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yes.
Happy to be here.
Okay, so you just told me this is your 7th book. So where exactly is the rainforest that you talk about in your book?
Well, it's a line of trees that starts in Northern California, goes all the way up to Southeast Alaska. But our section in Western Washington, Western Oregon, is the sweet spot of the Pacific temperate rainforest. And here we are squeezed between a range of active volcanoes and on the other side, a petulant subduction zone. So it's a lively place. And we have more fire here than the foggy redwoods and more rain than, we have more rain than the foggy redwoods and more fire than Alaska. So this is really the forest born of fire and rain.
Wow, okay. Now I get, obviously, the book title. So we all love our forests here in the Pacific Northwest, but how are they, you touched on this, distinctive from other forests, but is there anything else that makes us really stand out?
Well, you got to start with the trees. This is one of the few forests in the world that are filled with conifers rather than deciduous trees. And our conifer species, the Western red cedar, the Sitka spruce, the western hemlock, are all the largest, the tallest species of their kind in the world. The deciduous trees that we have, big leaf maple, red alder, black cottonwood, similarly are the tallest of their kind in the North America. And then the tree that rules them all is the Douglas fir, which is the second tallest tree of any species in the world, second only to coast redwoods. So we have a forest of very big trees and lots of life, and holds among the most carbon rich of any forest in the world.
That's so incredible. And what was devastating is obviously we saw those horrible fires in the Los Angeles area. And so what should we know about the potential for fires in our rainforests?
Well, like Los Angeles, our worst fires are east wind blown. But unlike Los Angeles, our rainforest doesn't burn that easily. And that's because it's wet. We've got layers of damp soil loaded with big logs that absorb water like sponges, and big trees that are armored with fire-resistant bark. And the whole thing is smothered with wet blankets of moss. So it doesn't burn easily, but when it does, it can be fierce. And that's not because we have too many trees, it's because we have this fierce east wind. So the east wind is like the wicked witch of the west. It can devastate the forest.
Right.
But people are thinking now that a wind-blown firestorm should be treated more like an earthquake or a tornado, an event that we cannot control, but we can plan for.
Okay.
So that's the importance of preparing our communities with fireproof building materials and defensible space.
Definitely. Prepare. And this kind of brings up to a topic of climate change as well. So you conclude that our public forests are worth more standing than cut down. How so?
Yeah. Well, a few years ago, a fellow named Elon Musk offered a $100 million prize for the best technology to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and store it for 100 years. The first plan was 1,000 metric tons, but it needed to be scaled up to 1 million metric tons of CO2 a year. Well, that's no problem for our forests. In Western Washington and Western Oregon alone, those forests absorb 47 million tons of CO2 a year. They can hold it for hundreds of years. They've been doing it for millennia for free. So perhaps we should stop cutting our rainforest down and collect the prize money.
What do you want the takeaway for your book to be?
Well, these are our public lands. We own them, and we have a say in their future. And they really are worth more standing than cut down.
Wow, thank you so much. I mean, I can feel your passion having been a professor, just looking at your career, and obviously you can read that within your book as well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everybody.
Yes. And of course, if you'd like to learn more about her book, Born of Fire and Rain, Margaret has a book event tonight, February 18th at Third Place Books.